This is going to be one of the biggest years of my life, but I'm here for it. I've prepared the best that I possibly can to put myself in the best position this year. Trust me when I say this. The time is now.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Time Is Now. How is everyone? I'm great. Thank you for asking. We're back. We're in peak week, and we're going to talk about peak week for you. We're on our first high day. Today's Thursday. We're competing on Sunday, so we've got this video to come, and then the next video, probably after this, will be the show day video. So look out for that. I'm excited to bring you that. We've got lots of things planned for after that as well. But we're going to talk about peak week, how to peak week, the things that I think that you should be doing during a peak week, and perhaps some of the things that you shouldn't be doing during the peak week. And we're just going to talk you through those through the day as I kind of go through this carb load. I've got about 750 grams of carbs today, so you can see I've got a nice mountain of bagels right here, which we're going to be consuming over the day, which I can't wait to get involved with. But we're just going to talk about the things that we've done already to kind of prime ourselves for this as we go. So first up, let me cook some breakfast up, and then we'll get into our first point. So first thing I want you guys to know about a peak week is that you have to be in shape first. I think that a lot of people search for peak week as a little fix to maybe they're not lean enough, or they're basically just not lean enough, So all this advice is you are lean enough, you are shredded, you've got enough, body fat off that this is going to make a difference. And that's very, very lean. So first things first is I probably wouldn't change too much because you're very depleted anyway. I'm not a big fan of depleting hard and then carbing up hard, at least too hard, just because you don't necessarily know what those results are going to be. So hopefully you've practiced a few carb loads in the past. So I'd honestly just run 2 or 3 low days or 2 or 3 days on your lower food, maybe a rest day food, maybe in between rest day and training day food. So for me, I was running 300 protein a little bit higher for satiation, 175 carb and 40 fat. So it's about 2,200 calories. It's quite low. I did that for 2 or 3 days. I did it for 3 or 4 days. And now we're going to load the carbohydrates because we're in a state where we've depleted, we've created a huge demand for carbohydrates. So now we're going to present them with those. And the foods that I'm going to be picking are going to be the foods that I've been eating during this whole prep. And that is a really, really key thing about this, is that we're not throwing anything new in. We're trying to digest well. We're trying to keep the waist trim, but we're trying to fill up as much as we can. With foods that are nice, of course, but mainly it's completely for performance. So same foods, a slight depletion, maybe 2 or 3 days. Personally, I'll do 3 days on lower food, and then you start your carb up. So we'll get into the next point in a little bit. So I wanted to kind of get into the specifics of my peak week so that you can kind of get a visual representation of what I'm going to do. Now I appreciate this is what I'm going to do is based off everything that I do with drugs, my height, my weight, my age, my maturity, my muscle mass, the amount of carbohydrates I've been using. So for the last 3 days, I have been running 300 grams of protein, 175 grams of carbohydrates, and 40 grams of fat. So that's pretty low for me. It's about 2,200 calories. I've been doing 30 minutes of cardio every day. I've also been doing 10,000 steps and also training. And also I'm using things like clenbuterol. I was using things like yohimbine and growth hormone, but we've pulled those out in order to pull some water off this peak week. So if you're someone who is using exogenous hormones that potentially may affect your water balance, like growth hormone, like yohimbine, it's a good idea to pull those out. So we pulled those out about a week ago. I also brought in Anavar, which is like a hardening, it's more of a cosmetic drug. It's quite androgenic, so it's going to give you a slightly harder, drier look. So we brought that in about 10 days ago, just at 20 milligrams pre-workout, and we've just gone to 50 milligrams pre-workout for this week leading up into the show. Today is my first carb load day. We've already had 200 grams of carbs this morning. Today's macros are going to be 250 grams of protein. They're going to be 750 grams of carbohydrates, and it's going to be 40 grams of fat. Now, the reason why protein is down a little bit is because we know that protein is thermogenically demanding. We also know that protein is quite satiating. Also, the goal is not to have the protein, it's to have the carbohydrates, so making room for that. You'll also notice the fats are still low because the goal is carbohydrates. And the reason why carbohydrates are at 750 for me is because we've trialed 550 twice in a row, and I woke up a new low both of those days. So we knew that both of the 550 is probably right around maintenance. So for me, in order to fill up, I needed a couple hundred over that. So all we do is run 750 today. We'll take pictures post-workout, we'll take pictures in the morning along with the body weight in the morning. We'll then gauge the difference in body weight, the difference in visuals, see how full I am, and if I can fill up more. If my body weight doesn't budge, we know we can fill up the same again. If it budges quite a lot, we know we don't have to fill up as much. If I look much fuller, we know we don't have to fill up as much tomorrow. I'm not training tomorrow or Saturday, so there's going to be less demand for carbohydrates anyway. And yeah, that's the setup carbohydrate wise. Drug wise, nothing changes. Injections remain the exact same. I'm not pulling off any testosterone. The only thing that I've done differently is going to be, I brought in Aromasin, which I never ever used. The last time I used any type of estrogen control was in 2019, just to bring a small layer of estrogen down, just to try and pull off a little bit more water. So 12.5 meg of Aromasin was 2 days ago, and 12.5 will go in on Saturday, and then we'll take that straight out again and allow estrogen to come back up, because estrogen is great. Estrogen is really good for recovery. It's neuroprotective, and it's something that people need in their body, so we don't need to stifle it. So we'll leave that there, getting our intro and pre-workout ready, and we'll head over to the gym and we'll talk a bit about training.
So we're in for training, and now obviously I'm in a process where I'm in a peak week for sure, and I'm not trying to cause loads of damage to retain and build muscle at this point, because I've got to be conscious of that look on Sunday. So for me, I'm reducing my intensity from a usual failure to maybe an 8 or a 9 out of 10, maybe one or two 9s, and then mostly 8 out of 10. And that just means if I can go to failure as 10, just 2 reps back from that, just in order to preserve some of that muscle damage, not trying to damage the tissue. Though when we kind of come back out of this competition on Sunday, we'll be straight back into a prep, and that focus will then switch back into trying to break down that muscle. So a few more warm-ups, maybe a little bit more volume, but just less intensity. Still got our wrist wraps available. Link's always in the description box. I feel like weight loss, Jesus Christ. Under 100 kilos this morning, 99.5 lowest. I got up to 117 in off season, so 18 kilos off. And I feel fuck me. So something I think that if you've not been doing already, it's changing out your higher risk exercises. Barbells, dumbbells. The leaner that you get, and obviously if you're using things that are hardening you up and you're drying you out and pulling your estrogen down, your joints, your tendons are at a little bit more risk. It makes a little bit more sense to do movements that are a little bit more fixed, a little bit more safe. So it's why you see me do a lot of machine work and a lot of plate loaded there, fixed plane motion. I can keep accurate, I can keep safe, I can control it. I've got no risk of slipping, especially when I'm so depleted. And for me, this is light, right? So, you know, where I'm used to having 15 kilos extra body weight on me, moving weight, I'm trying to move that same weight with less, so it throws you off balance a little bit more. So I'd always recommend, if you're not, just starting to direct some of your exercises towards machines as the fatigue builds. It's hard for me to pull back. I really don't want to fucking get into it, especially with more food. It'll be worth it. Otherwise, I'm just churning through that food I'm putting in. And the idea is to fill out. Shave my arms. You can tell the little veins coming out. Shaved everything. It's time, baby. Really time to dance. Oh yeah. 200 people. Filming for the YouTube at the moment. Andy on the camera. We're getting it in. How we doing? Push. Oh. So really this session's just all about blood moving. We're just trying to direct some of that food that we're going to eat into those muscles that we're going to fill up. Feeling good. So I'm still tired. I know I put a lot of food in, but it's one meal is never going to be enough. It's going to have to be over a few days that you start to feel a bit normal. So still pushing. Easy to get my heart rate up today, I noticed that. Oh Lord, the grain train. So we're doing physique updates. We've been doing physique updates pretty much after every upper body day. I've obviously got a little bit of food in today, 200 carb this morning only, which is, it's still not loads for some of my size, but I would have noticed that fullness and I can already see the fullness. So I'm just gonna take some photos, front, side and back, and then we'll do one final point or another point per peak week. So then, specifically to me, I wanted to talk about salt and I wanted to talk about water. For most people, if you are shredded, you will not hold water, you will not hold too much subcutaneous. Like you can see, like I'm dry, you can see where I am. I'm dry as I am, so there's not too much that you need to upset day to day to try and enhance that look. I'm hydrated now, I'm well salted now, so really, for me, because my best look is after a little bit of food, salt and water, basically my normal day after meal 3, for example, I just try and recreate those conditions, and I try and ensure that I'm well hydrated, I'm well salted, and I'm well fed before I get a pump, because I know that's when I look my best.
Some people look even worse with, you know, too many carbohydrates and not enough water, because you don't have enough water to draw carbohydrates into the muscle, which is what a lot of people do. They'll carb load, pull the water off, and sometimes they'll come out flat, and they'll wonder why. They'll keep shoveling carbohydrates in. They won't be filling out. It's because they need that water, they need that sodium, they need those electrolytes to pull those carbohydrates into the muscle. So for me, like, if you're fat-free, being well-fed, well-hydrated, and well-salted, and potassiumed, well-electrolyted, is the best port of call. And for 9 times out of 10, most people should be doing that. You can flush out water, and we'll probably talk a little bit about flushing out water a little bit later in the video. But for right now, everything would remain the exact same until like the day before, where you just use like a diuretic, like a very, very mild, a legal diuretic, not like a performance-enhancing drug diuretic, just like a H2O remove or a dandelion root or something. That's all we would use there. So we're gonna leave the workout there. We're gonna get back home for some food, and we'll wrap up the rest of my peak week. Okay, so the final thing that I want to talk about is going to be salt and water, because a lot of people get caught up in salt and water manipulation when they don't necessarily need to, because if you're lean enough, you probably don't need to do anything. My only recommendation, for me anyway, would be to keep everything as similar as you can, potentially raise your water a couple litres, just so you're continually flushing out water. And when you do raise your carbohydrates, you keep that water increase there, because obviously we need more water to draw more carbohydrates into the muscle. With salt, keep it exactly the same the whole week. The only time I would do anything different with it would be pre-show, where you just put a bit extra in your palm or on whatever you're eating and just throw it in, because a bit of salt and a bit of water along with a bit of food creates a great pump. That's it. Like, I'm not trying to make things complicated. We're not trying to throw different crazy things in there to try and get this crazy hard and super compensatory look. We're just trying to look really, really good every single day, and this is the first show, so I don't want to just throw the whole bucket at it when we could still preserve tools. We still need to get leaner. There's still things we need to do. The only other thing is I'm going to throw in H2O remove. This is it's like a natural diuretic. I say natural, it's like legal naturally, but it's like a natural diuretic that just helps pull some water off under the skin, and you'll flush that out. So we'll probably just throw that in while keeping water relatively high until the evening before, and then we'll just bring water in when we need it on the day. And that's pretty much going to be it. So that's going to be it for the peak week video. We are 3 days out, 2 days out. Saturday we travel to the Airbnb and get my tan, which we'll then pick up the filming with Andy, and we'll do a full show day vlog for you guys. So I'm excited for you guys to see it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Back very soon. Peace.